I mean, I've got a master story if you want one. I mean,
yeah. Well, you asked if we had ever been. The answer is yes. We've been to both practice day. So the very first time we went, it was Wednesday practice day, which I would say, first of all, if anybody gets a chance to go, regardless of what day it is, go. It's incredible. It's beautiful. The way they run the event is amazing. So even if you're not into golf, I think you'll enjoy it. First time we went was a Wednesday practice rounds. You got to see the par 3 tournament. Very cool. Cool to see the families out there and whatnot. Then the second time,
that was
totally
Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, totally random. Like, buddy of ours had, I think his uncle had tickets or whatever. Anyway, he had tickets in his possession that he was splitting with his brother. So like, they flip flop years. One would go Thursday, Friday. That one would go Saturday, Sunday. And the next year they'd flip it. And he called and he said, "Hey, it's my year for Saturday, Sunday. I can't go. Do you want them?" And this is like literally the week before. And that was one of the ones where the Sunday was Easter Sunday. And I'm like, yes, but let me check with my wife real quick and I'll call you right back.
Right.
And so he's like, okay, you got 15 minutes or whatever. So sure enough, we went to our wives. I said, hey, we have free tickets to Saturday, Sunday, the Masters, Sunday's Easter. They're like, oh my God, you got to go. I'm like, boom, done.
Yep.
Perfect.
Good wives.
So we did.
Yeah.
That was an interesting experience.
That was your bubble one, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
That was this chip out.
Yeah. We stayed in the Atlanta area Friday night, drove in Saturday.
Long drive. Like a lot longer than you think.
Saturday night, I mean, this was last minute, so there were no hotels available other than like some stupid price.
And Augusta's not a nice town.
No.
That's the misnomer. Is like,
and so Joe found a room, like in Aiken, South Carolina.
It was a room. I mean, it had four walls.
Only, it was only like $300 that night or whatever for that night. It was pretty cheap. Anyway, we got there. We're like, oh boy, it was.
Yeah, it was a means
sketch.
to an end.
It was. We may or may not have slept on top of the bed. Didn't even pull the sheets back.
You had your sleeping bag, and you slept on top of your sleeping bag.
Yeah.
I thought about sleeping on top of the coffee table instead of the bed.
Smart man.
There was something smeared on the wall.
Tells you about.
I'm not sure what that was.
You juxtapose like the disgusting hotel room with like Augusta, where there's not even like a weed in the entire property.
There's not a blade of grass out of place on that property. Yeah,
Correct.
It's unbelievable.
So we woke up early and took a quick shower, tried off with the paper towel type towel that they gave us, and then
awful.
Got out of there. But then an hour later, we're Sunday at the Masters. It was awesome. And then so that was a great experience. Loved doing that. That was one where literally we were sitting in the folding chairs. I think we were on. I don't remember what hole we were on. Maybe 10. I don't know. Whatever hole we were on.
Watching the drives come in.
Yeah,
that was 18.
Was 18?
Yeah.
Okay. And that's right. And I think we sat there. We're like, could you do this every single year? Some events like Indy 500 every single year.
Right.
Came to the conclusion, yes, I would not get bored of going to the Masters every year. I don't think.
Someone had a great tweet about it this week, and I think it was Jason Sobel, and he said, "There's only one place every year when you're there, it feels like everyone that's there would rather be there than anywhere else in the world." Yeah, that's kind of the vibe you get when you're there.
That
right?
is 100% correct.
It's unbelievable. It's low prices. Everyone's nice. Everyone's in a great mood because they don't want to be anywhere else. And it's like you can't even put into words when you see it for the first time. It's like the Jurassic Park scene when he sees the dinosaur and his sunglasses fall off. Like the first time I walked up the hill and saw a hole, and I'd seen this on TV my entire life. When you see it in person, it just like arrested me. It was just unbelievable to see in person.
I tried to describe this my wife the first time. I was like, it's like someone took the largest roll of AstroTurf and just rolled it out. Like that's how perfect everything looks.
It's like a painting.
Yeah, and you walk out down the path and the clubhouse is up to your left and you get that first view of number one going up the hill. I would say it's like the 6-year-old kid who walks into Disney and gets their first real view of the castle. Like that's what it's like.
That's a good analogy.
Like you're just like, oh, like you hear angel voices singing. It's like this is incredible. And then to add to your kind of what you're saying, the other element is you cannot take a cell phone in there.
It's kind of amazing.
And so in today's world, you are truly detached and you can just be present with where you're at that moment, surrounded by thousands of like-minded people who are just like that 6-year-old at Disney having the time of their life.
Now imagine trying to hit a tee shot on number 1 up that hill with 7 green jackets standing behind you.
Yeah, I would do you one better. Imagine hitting a tee shot off of 18 where the gallery is all along, and then you've got
We would have some
trees
casualties.
framing.
Yes.
You're like, I've got about a 20-yard window of trees and a smaller window of human beings staring at me that are all not afraid to get hit by a ball. In my mind, I'd be like, yeah, you're on. If I'm hitting this, I am taking one of you out.
Yeah.
And then last year we had the fortunate opportunity to go on. We were there Thursday. Is that right? Was that opening day?
Oh, we went down. Yeah, we watched Thursdays. We went down Wednesday and watched Thursday.
Right. Yeah. So, very, very happy and fortunate to have been able to go there a few times, and I couldn't wait to go back.
Every year
Same.
I would go.
Same.
Even if it was a Monday practice round, I would go.
It's just a special place. There's nothing like it in sports. And I know that people have heard that for so long. There is simply no sporting event that's run like that.
No, it's
Agreed.
They have figured out how to create perfection.
Yeah. So tell us, you got a master story.
So I've only been one time, but I covered it. So I was there Monday to Sunday.
Nice.
Well, I was there Monday to Monday, and that's the story. I not only got to watch Tiger Woods win his 5th Masters, which was arguably the greatest ever, for a kid who grew up in the 90s and picked up golf because of him, to watch him win and then hug his son was maybe the coolest sporting event I've ever seen in my life.
Well, especially since that was like a comeback for him in a way.
Yeah. And I had covered the Belle Reve PGA Championship the year before, so he was on Brooks Koepka's heels, like he was coming. But to see him do it, but here's the story. I won the Masters media lottery.
Oh, did you really?
So when I said I teed off on 1 with 7 green jackets behind me, that actually happened. And you're just praying you hit the ball. But if people remember, they had to move up the final round on Sunday, the day that Tiger won, because there was this huge storm coming. So when we huddled with them on Saturday, the Masters media lottery winners, they said, if it rains tomorrow and they got to play Monday, you guys are out. And I'm like, I'm not a golf writer. I'm never going to get a chance to play this course again. And that's fine. But I really wanted to play the course. So it just worked out unbelievably well. They moved it up. Tiger won. Huge rainstorm all Sunday. We could hear it in the press center. Monday is 80 degrees and sunny, and we get to play.
And softened the greens for you just the way you wanted it.
Yeah, it didn't help the putting. A lot of 3 putts that day. You pulled down Magnolia Lane, and we were 1 minute early. I think it was like 11:30 tee time, 10:30 arrival. We pulled down the lane at 10:29, and they were like, turn around. You go back, you sit in the CVS parking lot for a minute, then you come back down. You get to change in the champions locker room. You get to hit balls on the range. Try not to scold them. And then you get a caddy and you get to play. And it's one of those rounds where it's like, you know, I just shanked a drive on 7. It doesn't matter. I'm playing Augusta National the day after Tiger Woods won.
Right.
It was unbelievable.
Dude, that's unreal. Okay, so we know what you're talking about. If you would share what that lottery is.
So 32 Masters media members win it each year. So there's 8 foursomes. It's just a tradition the Masters has kept. They allow the press to play.
Only 32.
32. But here's the catch. If you win it, you're not eligible to enter for 7 years.
Okay.
So it was the first time I had entered it. And that obviously helped my chances because I had never been in it before. And a friend came up to me and said, what are you doing Monday? And I said, I don't know. And he said, you won. And I said, oh my gosh. Because I like brought my clubs and all my friends and my wife were like, don't bring the clubs. You're not going to win. Pushed my flight back. Unbelievable. You like wake up and you're like on the 16th or 17th hole and you're like, I need time to stop. I don't want this to end.
Right.
And it just goes so fast. You're having such a good time. But again, on the first hole, there's 7 green jackets. These are members just standing behind me. They were nice. They were courteous. They welcomed us. But I'm just praying to myself that I hit the back of the golf ball because I could not feel my body.
Yeah.
Pulled it left, but did hit the ball.
Do you remember who you played with?
Media members, one guy had played it 3 times. He's covered the Masters forever from all over the world. We'll always have that magical moment together, right?
Dude, that's awesome.
That makes me a little bit mad at you. For
Yeah,
that.
you should be.
And that's our episode, folks.
I mean, I peaked at age 34 that was, and it's never going to get better than that.
That's unbelievable.
But just think, you've been able to do something that most will never get the chance to do.
Yeah. It's, I'll never get to play some of the other courses in the world, some of the most exclusive ones, but like it was I mean, just watching Tiger win would have been enough.
Yeah.
That was great. It was unbelievable. What a story. But then getting to play it the next day, like that's the thing I get the questions the most about in my career. It's like, wait, you did what? Like I need to hear every detail about that. I'm like, twist my arm, I'll
Right.
talk about playing at Augusta National.
Yeah.
Well, before we officially start, I do have one question on that. What tees did you play?
Oh, yeah.
So you play the members tees, which are a lot easier.
Okay.
Like significantly easier than the pros. And the great thing is you kind of know where to hit it.
Yeah.
Not that the ball always goes where you want, but like on 16, like the flags were Sunday pins. And it's also stunning because the grandstands are gone. I don't know how they get them all out.
The actual structure. It's not that there's structure, but no people. They actually removed all of the grandstands.
Gone. Like the snap of a finger.
Overnight?
Yeah.
Holy
now
crap.
the scoreboards are there.
Yeah.
But like that place is magical. I don't know how
Especially
they
considering
do
you
it.
said that they had bad weather, so there was a delay of them.
They had
being
a rainstorm
That's
on
unreal.
Sunday afternoon. We could hear it hitting the roof of the press box. And this next day, it's like it never happened. It was crazy.
That's wild.
And there's just like a normal green jacket member pulling up as I'm leaving. Like I'm trying to stay as long as I possibly can. They let you in the actual Augusta pro shop, which is not the Masters one that's set up. So you can
Right.
buy the actual Augusta National gear.
Sweet.
Bought some of that, but probably will never get back in. But it was unbelievable. And yeah, it was the coolest thing I've probably ever done in my life.
That's
Yeah.
damn it.
Magical.
95, I think, with a lot of 3 putts.
Well,
I mean, I would take 95 at Augusta. I mean, as much as I
Yeah, oh,
want
yeah,
to play my
yeah.
best,
yeah.
because even no matter what, the greens alone, especially with Sunday pin placement,
They're like pool tables.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Industrious Podcast. Thank you all for joining us from wherever you get your podcasts, or if you're tuning in on the Assessa YouTube channel. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate that. As you can see, this is Masters Friday. Shared Zak's Masters story, which I think we're all a little bit in awe of and jealous of, but super happy for him to have played it. Maybe one of these days. Never say never, I guess. Anyway, as I alluded, our special guest today, Mr. Zak Keefer he's a senior writer for The Athletic. Zak, welcome to the Industrious Podcast.
Good to have you, or good to be back with you guys.
Likewise. I'll tell you what, would you give us a little intro and background on yourself?
Yeah, Indianapolis, born and bred. Hamilton Southeastern graduate, went to IU, home of the reigning national championships
There we go.
team in football, which is wild. That was another unbelievable night in Miami just to witness that. And I write about the NFL, mainly for The Athletic and the New York Times, and have done it for a long time. Covered the Indianapolis Colts on a daily basis for about 10 years. A lot of that was the Andrew Luck saga. Got to know Frank Reich and Jim Irsay and Chris Ballard well, and now Shane Steichen. And now I kind of bounce around the league and go wherever the interesting story is. But I also got to venture overseas in February and cover my first Winter Olympic Games.
So we just went from I not only went to the Masters, but I played Augusta to I just spent how long? A week or two? How long were you over there?
You guys hate me. You guys
A
hate me.
little bit.
Well, I'm sitting here thinking, do I want to hug him or do I want to tell him to go?
No, I'm not very happy with you right now.
I will say,
You're living my fantasy.
no one wants to hear this. No one wants to hear this, and I realize how bad this sounds. We were in Italy for a month, the whole month of February, essentially. They worked us to the bone. It was like 14-hour days. Now, you're at the Olympics, and it's unbelievable, and the energy carries you.
And they served us great pasta and beer and wine, but we had to work all day.
The food was great. We did have to work like sun up to sundown, and you were dead tired at the end. And I remember my colleagues who had done Olympics before were like, you're going to need a week at least to recover. And I was like, I'll be fine. They were right. I was dead for about a week, but what an experience. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, I've never been to an Olympics, either winter or summer, and just love it. And so we had done some earlier episodes with some Olympic athletes and kind of help cue this one up, but have just even greater respect for that athlete that has not necessarily they're pros, but they're not not in the sense of the NFL or NBA or anything like that, but the dedication it takes for them to get to that level, and they're representing their country. They're not doing it for a huge paycheck, and it's just cool.
They work 99% of the time in complete anonymity. They do. And we're not talking about Chloe Kim and Lindsey Vonn and Michaela Schiffer and the absolute stars. But to some degree, they do as well. We as a culture pay attention in intense detail for 3 weeks. And we care a lot about these athletes and we invest in them. And then they just work in the shadows. And that's the interesting part to me. I wrote about a snowboarder who turned pro at 14, quit at 20 because she hated the sport, and became a plumber. And worked as a plumber for a year or so, and then got back into the sport later and made the Olympics at 31. She was there as a 31-year-old.
That's a great
trying
story.
to compete against these 20-year-olds, and it was remarkable. And there was a kid who won bronze, Jake Cantor from Colorado, who suffered a traumatic brain injury as a kid at one of those trampoline parks.
Oh, yeah.
I'm never taking my kid to one of those after writing that story. But to see the emotions on his face, and he was in a coma for several days, and his mom talked to me, and she said, we thought we lost him. He was 10 years old, and he won a bronze medal. And those remarkable moments, they really hit you, because when you cover the Olympics every day is the biggest day of someone's life.
Yeah.
And that was really cool. I mean, I've covered Super Bowls and all that. Every day felt like the Super Bowl over there, and it was just really cool.
That's cool. When you got that assignment, first, two-part question. When you got that assignment, were you just like, oh my God, this is phenomenal? And then two, what were you charged with? Was there any specific, okay, I have to focus on this, or was it hey, you're going to the Winter Olympics, get as much coverage as you can, however you get it?
When I got the assignment, I was beyond thrilled. I mean, it was I've always wanted to do it. I think everyone remembers the first Olympics you watched, probably with your family or parents. I remember watching the 96 games with my dad, Michael Johnson, and the gold spikes, and thinking it was the coolest thing in the world. So that was always a career goal. I was on the snowboarding and skiing beats.
Okay.
I was in a really small town called Bormio. We also traveled to Livigno every day, basically the Italian Alps. I mean, basically Switzerland. So this was not like my day job. In my day job, I'm dealing with very large, very strong, sweaty men who do not want to talk to me. NFL players who generally do not want to talk to me. Some of them are great. Most of them are just annoyed by the media. Flip that on its axle, right? Because the snowboarders and the skiers, they love talking to you. You want to talk to my dad? Here's his cell. My mom, my coach, my high school friends. They loved and welcomed the media attention, and it was ripe for great storytelling, because they have these moments, these concentrated periods of attention where the stakes were really high. I mean, Nick Gepper, Indiana kid.
Yeah.
I said, Nick, this doesn't make sense to me. I've been skiing. This kid grew up in southern Indiana going to Perfect North. And for anyone out there who's been to Perfect North, it's
just like Vail or Aspen.
Lawrenceburg is just like anything in the Rocky Mountains, really.
It couldn't be more different. And I said, how does this make sense? And he said, listen, I get this question all the time. At Vail or Breckenridge, I could get one run an hour in. At Perfect North, I could get 100.
Yeah.
So he would ski until his mom would pull in the parking lot every night and yell, Nick, it's time to come home. That's what my dad did when I was on the basketball court in Indiana. But he was doing, rollerblading in the summers and skiing all winter. And he's a 4-time Olympian.
Yeah.
And one of the craziest moments was him. He had told me before the Olympics, I have this move that's never been done before. I'm going to try it. So he's in the half pipe on skis, and it's the last run, and it's the last event of this Olympics, and he tries to pull off this move that is absurd. Me trying to explain it wouldn't do it justice, and he slams on the top of the half pipe, and it was. I mean,
I've watched that. That was brutal.
You could feel the pain. You could hear the silence sweep over the entire Livigno snow park. He was fine, but he went for it, and that's the other thing. These athletes, they were like, this is my chance. I'm going for it. They have that rebel sort of DNA, and that was really fun to get to know and learn about and talk to. I admired them, to be honest.
Yeah, that specific story about Nick and that run, I remember watching it, and they were the commentators were talking about this move that he has, and he's probably going to have to pull it out because if he wants to end up on podium. And he didn't stick it, but man, I was more impressed that he went for it, to just say it's either all or nothing. And unfortunately, it didn't work out. But I would have rather him done that than stuck something, call it more safe, and finished 5th or 6th.
It runs counter to how they're built, how their minds work. They didn't go the typical route. They didn't play basketball or soccer or football like a lot of American kids. And so they're always trying to do different, do more, and that's just kind of their DNA. Another story that's stunning to me, and I want to get your guys' opinion on this, is so Chloe Kim's going for history, right? Her 3rd straight gold medal in the half pipe. She's the best snowboarder ever, all that. She gets hurt before the Olympics, so she's not 100%. She's skiing with a dislocated shoulder, which actually matters a lot more than people think, because her arms are sort of her wings in the air to balance her. Not to get too technical, but long story short, she's in the lead after 2 runs of this snow pipe, and the snow is coming down, and this Japanese girl falls, and up at the top of the hill where it's just the athletes, Chloe's like, shake it off, you got this, I know you got a great run in you, you can do this. That girl wins gold. She goes down and puts down a great run and wins gold, and afterwards, Chloe Kim is like, I'm so happy for her, she did great. And I'm like, you just wouldn't hear this in other sports. You wouldn't hear Peyton Manning helping Tom Brady at halftime and then congratulating him after the game, right? It was refreshing in a lot of ways, and it was very different to hear these stories and to see like genuine happiness for their competitors who just took a gold medal from them.
Yeah, well, you'd see that like post-run, you'd see the athletes of different countries sitting at the bottom of the hill, and then someone gets done with the run, they're up there high-fiving, hugging. You're like, these people on an individual level are fierce competitors. They wouldn't be Olympians if they didn't have this intense competitive drive to have gotten to that point. But they know where the line is that they don't cross of, but my fellow competitor from a different country is like my peer, and we root for each other. And I think just like prior in the earlier part of the conversation, that's one of the biggest differences that I see in Olympic athletes versus, quote unquote pro athletes, is that much to you getting stories, right? There's just a true pure human element to Olympic athletes that you don't get out of people that do it as a professional career in NFL, NBA, MLB, whatever. That is probably what pulls people into watching the Olympics so heavily. It just they're more, I don't want to say real, but there's just that human element that Chloe Kim celebrating this Japanese competitor who had a big fall, and then she encourages her and comes back and wins, and Chloe's like, hey, she got the gold I wanted, but I don't care. Like, that was just awesome to see.
They're very likable. They were very engaging. I mean, I feel like a lot of the interviews I had were more conversations than interviews. And this ran the spectrum, right? Like, this was not just American athletes. Any athlete that could speak English, I was grabbing in the media zone and talking to them. And I cannot tell you how many times I said, this is a dumb question, but because I'm not a snowboard expert. I'm not a ski expert by any means. They were wonderful, and they were engaging, and they were informative. And like you said, they don't exist in the bubble that is professional sports in a normal, typical way that we assume. I mean, Caitlin Clark, Tyrese Halliburton, Daniel Jones in this town. I mean, this is so far removed from that. They have this concentrated period of intense attention. Mm-hmm. The flip side of that is a lot of them deal with, mental struggles after the game is over. They became the face of America for a couple weeks.
Right, and then
they look up.
Back to being a normal person.
And then where's everybody at?
Yeah.
And it fades, and then it comes back, and it fades, and it's not as simple as you would think. But they also exist in this club where they're one of the best in the world at this event, and there's probably 6 or 7 or 15 of them, and they do genuinely root for each other because they know how unique that role is.
That's cool. So, I know zero about journalism, and we're talking about how to capture, the true authenticity of a person that you're interviewing. I think that's important to the reader, right? Because the reader wants to read a story and sort of be pulled into it, as opposed to just reading something and moving on. How do you pull that out of the people you're interviewing, especially when you talk about NFL players in the locker room, that some of them are good, but most of them just are kind of annoyed by the media? How do you get beyond the just basic Q&A to try to get some sort of personality out of who you're interviewing?
I think you get better at it over time. And I teach a class at Indiana, and I was actually talking to my students about this recently. The best interviews are conversations. The subject needs to feel like you are there with them, not just probing, not just trying to steal something out of them, but you are actually there trying to understand. And I think people appreciate that. And, it's simple things like asking questions you don't know the answer to. Like, that sounds crazy, but think about how many times we've all seen in press conferences where a sports reporter says, how did it feel to make the game-winning kick? And Adam Vinatieri says, it felt great. You already knew what he was going to say before you asked that question. So it's asking good questions. It's listening to what they say, but being very present. I'll never forget sitting with a Colts player a couple years ago, Grant Stewart. He was a special teams player, not a superstar. And the interview was going over here and over here and over here. And then at one point, he just says, at one point I was dealing with so many mental struggles that I wanted to end it. And I drove to this pier and I was going to kill myself. And it's like, that is a moment in an interview when you're like, oh my gosh, I'm just going to stay quiet and be a human, not be a journalist, and try to understand the situation. But those moments are rare. But you want to be very present, and you want to be push it to a conversation to where you're not just looking at your notes and just trying to pull information to where it almost feels transactional. I think that's the furthest thing from where you want to be.
So when you were having this conversation with Lindsay at the Olympics, did she ask about me at all?
Lindsey Vonn?
Yeah.
Oh, she was 6 hours away. I did not get to interview you.
Shucks.
But she was definitely thinking about you.
I'm sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
I would say Chloe Kim did, but she didn't. I tried to interview her boyfriend, and Myles Garrett did not want to talk to me. He ran away from me
that's right.
the way quarterbacks run away from him. Go figure.
Well, you tried.
He's like, there's that Keefer dude from The Athletic. I'm getting out of here.
I think he was blown away by it. I said, what was it like watching her? And he said, it was awesome, but terrifying. Because the half pipe, you just can't do it justice until you're there. It's absurd. It's all ice. Like, it's a crazy event in person.
I have skied in a Olympic size, whatever, like legitimate Olympic size half pipe. And I go down the middle, and I started to go up one of the walls. I was like, I'm about 3 inches off the bottom, and I'm looking straight up, and I am freaked out. I'm just gonna go right down the middle.
20 feet high.
Yeah,
and they go
crazy.
20 feet above it in the air. It's absurd.
If I even attempted to get, first off, I probably wouldn't get high enough to clear the top. But if I did, and then I had to turn myself around to come down, I would break every bone in my body.
And like we had ambulances out there, we had ski lifts out there. Like, they all crashed at least one time. Like, it's serious, heavy stuff. Because it's all ice, too. When they crash, they crash.
Let me ask you this. What aspects, so we talk about a lot about being industrious and what it takes to be an entrepreneur or to break into whatever industry it is that you're in. And this maybe goes to your teaching at IU. When you're talking to your students, what aspects of I guess, in this experience, being industrious, does it take for them to be a good journalist?
I think being industrious in my industry is being curious. Like, you have to be inherently curious. Like, sports are this great prism for the rest of the world, right? But I've never solely written about wins and losses and stats. I think we all have phones. We can all see who won the game. We can all see the box score. Ideally, if you're writing about a game, everyone knows who won and who lost. They watched it on TV. I always tell my students, why are they going to read you the next day? I would always ask myself that when I was covering the Colts. There's 10 guys also at the same game and gals writing about the Colts. Why is the reader going to read you? Ideally, because you give them something unique. You have to be inherently curious to find those stories. And that's what I've always loved to do. I mean, so little of my Olympic experience was writing about like intense snowboarding stuff or skiing stuff. It was writing about these people and where they came from and how they dealt with unimaginable trauma earlier in their life, or setbacks, or success. I mean, Chloe Kim, at one point early in her life, hated winning because every time she got on her phone, her Instagram messages were vile and misogynistic and just straight ugly. You're stealing American medals from American white girls, things like that. And so, she's this prodigy. She's the best ever, and she hates winning. And so how do you work through that? How do you still find the love to go up there on the slopes? And, she got this injury in December, and she came back. And the first time she snowboarded this year, really, was the qualifications for the Olympics. And she just nails it. She blows everyone out. I'm like, my God, she just looked different. When you watch an athlete, and you're like, they're different than the rest. Yeah. That was her. And she's walking through the media zone, and we're like, how'd you do that? Like, you made that look so easy. She's like, guys, I've been snowboarding since I was 4 years old. I can snowboard better than I can walk. And I'm like, that's a hyperbole, but maybe not. Maybe not. So to do about your question, Vince, it's just being curious. And, I had to ask Hunter Hess, what was it like getting called a loser by the President of the United States a week before you compete in the Olympics? And his face, you could just see the pain on his face from the last couple of weeks. Now, his teammates were behind him, and he explained it well, and he handled it really professionally. But I could tell that had weighed on him. Yeah. So little of it is about sports sometimes, and it's about being a human. And the coolest thing is not knowing where the next place is going to take you, not knowing where the next story is going to take you. And that's why sports are so cool, right? You show up to the stadium, and we don't really know what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's cool. The words of Ted Lasso, be curious, right?
Yeah, it's a great way to live.
Yeah. So let's go back to 18-year-old Zak Keefer. So like just a few years ago.
I'm 40, man. I'm not that young.
Like, where along the way did you say, "Hey, I think I want to get into journalism. I want to go into writing versus maybe broadcast journalism or whatever that moment was. Like, I think I want to do this." What led you there, and then what led you into sports, specifically?
Well, I was lucky. Early on, I learned that I did not have a professional athletic career in my future. Just was made very clear. I was slow and I was white, and it just wasn't going to happen. I was the nerd who loved writing papers. In second or third grade or fifth grade, when the English teacher says, "I'm going to give you guys an assignment. It's a 10-page paper," and the entire classroom groans.
Yeah.
I was like, yes. So I'm a sicko. I loved writing. I loved reading the sports page every day. I went to a Pacers game with my dad when I was really young, and I remember seeing the sports writers on press row and thinking, that's a job? You get to go to games and write about it? Like, they pay you to do that? Like, I'm going to do that. And I also grew up reading the Bible being Sports Illustrated. Like, that was a moment every week for a lot of young writers.
You read the swimsuit edition too?
No, I didn't really.
Just looked at it maybe.
My dad swiped it before I could get it. But, they were in their heyday. And to write those in-depth stories that went beyond the game and beneath the surface and really told you who these people were that were a part of the athletic fabric, it just captivated me. And then I would read books. I mean, I read Season on the Brink, which is the iconic John Feinstein Indiana book when I was like in ninth grade. Like, a ninth grader should not be reading a book with that many cuss words in it. But I did, and I just fell in love with it. And I went to IU, and I studied journalism, and I loved covering sports. And I covered high schools for a couple years. I got the Butler beat, and then Brad Stevens left 3 days later. Ugh. So to this day, I'm like, Brad, did I make that bad of an impression that you had to bounce to Boston that fast? Did some Pacers playoffs in the Paul George years, but mainly just, learned on the Colts beat. Like, I was the young guy, and I just, learned, wrote good stories, made mistakes, learned how to deal with sources, learned how to deal with a very interesting character in Jim Irsay, who I love and had a great relationship, but we didn't always get along. So it was fascinating to cover him. But again, in my business, like, I love interesting, and sports are interesting, and the people are certainly interesting. And so it's never boring. And I think that's a good thing. The longer I do this, I still just do not get bored by it.
So, I mean, you're covering the NFL, and obviously you have a background behind that, but speaking specifically about the NFL, which you covering the Colts as it's still, you're 40, that's young, but much younger than Vince. You're trying to break in, right? How do you, when your interviewee are people that are high profile, right? How do you develop the credibility for them to say, okay, yeah, I'll answer this guy's questions, I'll give him time, whatever it may be? Like, it's got to be a challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. It's intimidating too, because if you ask a bad question, they'll stomp all over you, and it's happened. It's happened to me. And the other aspect of this was social media was really taking off right when my career was sort of starting, and that changed the business. It changed my business. It changed how we deliver information, analysis, reporting to our audience. It cheapened the experience in some ways. I mean, I write long stories. I write 3,000-word stories. What I always focused on was the work. Like, I realized that I have X amount of Twitter followers. It's not because they like me. It's not because it's because they want the information, right? I get that. I'm a vehicle for them. So I always understood that branding, or whatever they want to call it these days, like, I just wanted to know that my audience is going to, one, trust me and know that I'm going to be about the work. I'm not going to shout up from the rafters that I have the best story today. I'm just going to let you decide. I'm just going to keep my head down and just do the work. And I think slowly over time, the readers on the Colts, I mean, we had great people covering the Colts for a long time. Stephen Holder's a really good friend of mine. Mike Chappell's covered the team since they moved here on the Mayflower vans back in 1984. Mike Wells is a good friend. I mean, I was the young guy, but I always just said, like, the work will speak for itself. If you just put your head down and do the work, and slowly over time, you know, I got to have a really good relationship with Andrew Luck. Like, when you're tight with the quarterback, that pays dividends. Yeah. Jim Irsay took a while. Then we started to understand. Frank Reich, you know, was always very good at explaining things. It takes time, and I wasn't patient enough early to understand that. But I'm very glad I took those 10 years, because I wouldn't be good at my job now without those humbling lessons on the beat of how things work, how relationships work. But also, like, at the end of the day, for me, it was always just about the work. I wanted my work to speak for itself.
I think everything you just said transcends your specific experience within the world of journalism to anyone in any industry, in any career, first coming out of college. Because on our prior episode, we were talking to two husband-wife entrepreneurs and said, what's your advice you give to someone who's coming out of school or someone who's maybe been in their career for 10 or 15 years that wants to break out on their own? And their advice was, go get a quote-unquote real job, get experience, know what it's like to have coworkers, know what it's like to have a boss, and just learn. Learn the dynamics of an office, learn your work, and just gain that experience. And I think that's kind of what I heard you just say was, I just needed to get in there, be patient. I'm not going to get everything. I mean, there's no instant gratification anywhere. I just got to be patient and put my head down, do the work, and absorb as much as possible, and then just keep chipping away at what ultimately becomes growth in the next opportunity.
I think you're in a race. At least I was. I wanted to race to the best job. I wanted to just get there. And I didn't understand at the time that you needed to take these steps, and these steps were really valuable, and you needed to screw up, you needed to learn, and you need to watch those who have done it before you and done it better and take things from them. But try telling a 22-year-old hard-headed kid that, or 25-year-old.
I'm trying right now.
Yeah, it's not easy. But the value is not in where I'm at. This sounds so cliche, but the value is in all those years of learning. Like, that is what the real testament to getting better.
So speaking of learning from your mistakes, is there one that really stands out to you that maybe back then it was like, oh my God, I was so embarrassed, and that was just, I can't believe I did that. But now today, 5, 10, however many years removed from that experience, you're like, honestly, as embarrassing as that was at the time, it taught me so much.
Oh, you always want something back in a story. You read your stories and you're like, gosh, I wish I could change those 5 words or that quote or this. I will say this, and I read this now in my students' stories, I tried too hard. And by that I mean, we've all read these stories where this guy's really just going for it, right? Like, you're trying to show off. You're trying to write like F. Scott Fitzgerald or something. And I cringe reading these stories now because the 22-year-old me thought he was writing for Sports Illustrated, and he was actually writing for the Greenfield Daily Reporter. So you learn those lessons. I tell my students that I made every mistake they are currently making, so I can speak from experience. But you also have to have a confidence, and I think if you're writing to show off, I think that will bite you. But if you have a confidence in your reporting and your ability to gather facts, I think that will come through in the final product.
Yeah,
and be open to criticism.
I mean, I'm on social media. I cover the NFL.
So
it's a part of my life.
That was because I have a question. When this is, like sometimes you'll late night talk show hosts will have this segment, and I want to ask you, like, your number one favorite like hate mail. Because there's always, we talked about like Chloe. You said Chloe Kim doesn't like winning because she gets these asshole keyboard warriors, right? Everyone feels so empowered behind an anonymous screen in their keyboard. Like, some of the comments or hate mail you get, like what are some of the ones that just make you like actually laugh and go, okay, that's pretty good?
The ones that drive me insane will be a criticism of a story on a tweet that I send out, and it's very obvious that they didn't read the story. Like, I wrote one that came out yesterday about John Gruden and the Raiders and why it didn't work out the second time, and literally they were like mentioning several things that they didn't like about my tweet, and I'm like, those are mentioned in the first 3 graphs of the story. Like, I laid out the foundation, but that's just today's society.
Yeah.
There's a lot. Yeah. I mean, you get so numb to it over the time that you don't even look anymore, but sometimes it's hard not to. But yeah, I mean, the other thing is I would always laugh at, you're being way too negative would be one comment. And then sometimes it's like, you are just way too positive about this team. They're not that good. It's like, if you hear both of those things, you're probably somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
But when I was covering Butler had a really bad season. And one fan said, you're not doing enough to help the team win. And I was like, okay, you do not understand my job.
I am not the one on the floor.
Right. I didn't miss any 3-pointers that season. But it's interesting. And that's the beauty of it. That's why I have a job, because people are passionate. Right. Yeah. It's imperfect. It's ugly. It's also wonderful, but it gets really ugly on social media, man.
How do you carry that advice and turn it into teaching for your students? Because that's, I'm sure there's an element to that's classroom element, but there's some of that it's like life advice. Like, I'm your professor, but I also do this for a living. Let me share you some like free therapy on how, because this is going to happen, right? So how do you just from the beginning deal with it so you don't let it truly like get inside you?
First day of class every semester, I have them read a story about a sports writer who was fired for a political tweet. And the crux of the story was essentially, can a sports writer be a human? Like, when he's off the clock, can he have political views that are, argumentative, political? It's really difficult. You have to sort of draw a line. I don't have much of a personality on social media because I realize why people are there. They're there for my work. I get that. Branding, maybe I'm missing the boat with the branding thing, but I also understand that it's and one of my good friends mentioned this years ago about our role in sports media, and a lot of people have lost sight of this, in my opinion. It's not about us. They're not there for us. They're there for the athletes, for the coaches. They're there for the games. They don't care about us. The less we're a part of the conversation, I think, the better. Now, I realize the business has changed, and so much of it is about branding and how people find you and going to meet the audience where they are. But at the end of the day, I don't want it to be about me. I want it to be about my work. It's a lot harder with social media, though.
So you made the comment that how much the business has changed. Obviously, going back in the not too distant past, we went from print to digital, and then digital to not just delivering the news, but now the social media aspect of everything. How do you navigate? And there's been tons of consolidation, right? It's like, how do you navigate that? And how do you advise people getting into journalism what that could possibly look like?
It's messy. Yeah. The business is brutal. There's no other way to shake it. And I tell my students that. The good ones still have a chance to make it, though. And if you're passionate about it, I absolutely urge them to chase it. The reality is, are sports any less popular than they were 10 to 15 years ago? Absolutely not. Yeah. They're a known quantity. They are absolutely the most popular thing in the world in terms of where our eyeballs go. Like, the top 100 TV shows of last year, 97 of them were football games, right? We all know that stat. So the sports are no less popular. The fandom is there. How we reach the fans is changing. The vehicle to get there is changing. It's faster, it's quicker, it's cheaper in a lot of ways. Instagram, TikTok, every player in the world has a podcast now. Fans still want the information, and they still want what I do. Ideally, in my mind, I hope, they want the unique. They want different. They want the stuff that's not going to be, if there's a long trough of sports media, so much of it's the same. So much of it is what this coach said at the press conference, which this player said at the press conference. If you can grab the other stuff and do something unique, revealing, then I think you still have something. People still want that in very big quantities. And I feel like The Athletic, and I know I'm a company man right now, but like, we do it as well as anybody. We find the stories that no one else finds out there. We tell them better than anybody else. And I think that's why we're having a lot of success, is because, people have a huge appetite for sports. How we deliver news, information, and content in so many different ways has changed. Absolutely. But if you do it well, I still think people will absolutely pay for it, value it, and have a relationship with your company in a way that they trust you and they go to you when there's big moments. Like the Olympics, like we had a killer 3 weeks. Like, I mean, the audience was absolutely there, and this was Winter Olympics, not Summer Games.
Right. Yeah. Who all who all from your team was out there? Like how many guys did you have out there?
We had 18 total.
18, wow.
Yeah,
Holy
there were
smokes.
a couple editors, but I never saw like the figure skating reporters in Milan. We were out sequestered in our little town, but we had a huge crew out there.
That's awesome.
Still angry, still bitter about that. It hasn't gone away.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, so I think we've kind of covered this, but you're talking to your seniors in the class, or they're on the verge of graduating here from IU in a month. They think that they want to join you in the ranks of journalism. What's the last nugget of wisdom you leave with them?
You're about to embark on a wild adventure. Like, I could never have a job that felt like it was the same every day. Now, there's certainly points in an NFL season that feel redundant. If a team goes 4-12, like, you haven't lived until you've covered a 4-12 team, and the players just get out of our locker room. I don't want to say anything else that I didn't say yesterday, but it makes you better. It's so fun because you get to be the bridge between these great stories and the audience that wants them. It's fun. You get to meet people you would never get to meet. I got to meet, Grant Stewart talked to me about how he turned his life around after almost hurting himself, right? Like, that was my Wednesday last year, and it was an unbelievable 2.5-hour conversation. And I come home and my wife says, "How was your day?" And I was like, I need a minute to process what I just heard. And so those ups and those downs, and there are certainly downs, they make it so fascinating, and it's just such a fun ride. I don't think I could do anything else. I have no other skills. This was the main reason. But it's an unbelievable ride, and you get such a great window into the human experience.
Well, your cousin, the English teacher, would be very proud of you.
She sends me really nice notes. So does her mom as well.
Feedback like, "Hey, I'm edited your article for you."
The good and the bad, right? Right. She's a grammar stickler, and so I appreciate that. I think maybe that's where it comes from. But yeah, they've been great.
That's awesome. I love it. I just want to go on for like the next 3 hours about the Masters, but I know we have a time limit.
Yeah, we got to get home to work from home today.
Right. Air quotes there.
Totally. Yeah.
All right. Well, Zach, thanks again for joining us. We appreciate more stories and your insight. It's always enjoyable.
This was a blast. Thanks for having me, guys. I could talk Masters all day too.
Oh, well,
we're gonna go off air and we'll go get some beers, talk Masters. You can pretend you were
too
there.
early. Guys are teeing off now. I think.
Well, it's almost noon.
Yeah. Right. And thank all you guys for joining us on this episode of the Industrious Podcast. We appreciate you guys joining us from wherever you get your podcasts, or if you are tuning in on the Assessor YouTube channel. Thank you for doing so. Check out Zach on the Athletic on most social media platforms, I assume.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so check him out. Great stuff. And don't forget, guys, be industrious.